Did the Māori Party co-leader Debbie Ngarewa-Packer use taxpayers' dollars to fly to the Cook Islands recently for her 30th wedding anniversary? If she was a minister, we could find out. But ordinary MPs, their spending remains secret unless they give approval for the Speaker to release it or they release it themselves. Sadly, with this woman, she's not going to do that. She won't allow it. But she's got form. She is Parliament's biggest troffer. Let's go.
Are we paying these people to front up, or are we paying them to fly to Wellington to eat their lunch? Should you really lose your career for refusing to take part in a 90-minute lesson about Māori culture? But this government doesn't actually have any idea how to get economic growth. Show us what you made of, Prime Minister.
Editor-in-Chief with Duncan, Garner.
Okay, welcome to the program. You're with the Editor-in-Chief. I'm Duncan, Garner. Great to have your company. Welcome. Now, I'll have Jordan Williams on shortly from the Taxpayers Union to talk about Debbie Ngarewa-Packer. He's concerned, so am I, about why MPs can continue to keep their taxpayer spending secret. Look at Debbie Ngarewa-Packer. She was absent when Parliament was sitting recently, which is unusual for a sitting MP. She chose to jet off to the Cooks for her 30th wedding anniversary. But who paid is the question. How much? How much? And did we pay as taxpayers? And isn't it time for Parliament to come clean on what our MPs are spending our money on? It is the only place in the country in receipt of public money that continues to not be subject to the Official Information Act. They hide behind this cloak of secrecy. Throw open the doors. Open the books. What are you scared of? Right, and get in touch with us. Subscribe as well. Hit the subscribe button and get in touch with our social media. Duncan Garner Podcast on TikTok, Instagram, or flick me an email at duncan@rover.nz. Don't forget to subscribe. Did I tell you that? Okay, let's go.
It's the Slam Dunk.
Okay, let me just give you a bit of background to this first. Debbie Ngarewa-Packer, okay? She's the MP who last year spent more on flights in 3 months than any other MP. She racked up a huge $39,000 on domestic and international flights in just 3 months. $39,000 of taxpayers' money on flights. Now, excluding ministers, she spent more than every other MP. And not just more, the second highest was Willie Jackson, but Ngarewa-Packer's bill was 62% higher than his. So no one got a close second. She was miles in front of everyone else. What did she spend it on? Actually, she spent $60,000 for 3 months. That's when you include accommodation and ground transport. Where did she stay? Well, that's a secret as well. Where did she go? Who went with her? Naturally, we all asked what she did and where did she go. She wouldn't say. Was it first class? Who knows? But Ngarewa-Packer doesn't want to tell us. She openly refused to do that then, and it looks like it's the same case now with this Rarotonga trip. She refused to say nothing. She said nothing. Now, Speaker Jerry Brownlee can tell us, but only if she gives him her approval to do so. And of course, she hasn't done that. MPs signing their own approval slips? For heaven's sake. It's like kids writing their own sick notes. Oh, maybe we did that. But for an MP that normally should be flying a couple of times a week between her New Plymouth base and Wellington, that's what she should be doing. $39,000 is one heck of a bill for one MP. Gosh, I've covered some snouts in the trough over the years. Jonathan Hunt with his $30,000 of taxis. At least he took a year to do that. I've seen MPs use their stamp warrant to register their private car. I've seen MPs fly to Paris for an internet shopping conference for $36,000. I've heard of husbands running their private businesses around the country using parliamentary travel perks given to the spouses. But $39,000 for air travel for 3 months. My goodness. You'd almost never be on the ground because you could fly $39,000. You could almost be in the air the entire 3 months. You could fly non-stop for 3 months. I checked it out, actually. And $39,000 would get you a return flight home to New Plymouth every single day for 3 months. She didn't do that. We know that. It would buy 6 return business class flights to Hawaii. And we do know in that period that she did travel to Hawaii because there's a picture up of her with her surfboard. But you paid for it. Here's a picture of her in Hawaii. Have a look at this, enjoying this morning surf. Now, she may have been there attending some oceans conference. How nice. But now the spotlight has come back to her for this trip that she's made with her husband recently, just the last couple of weeks, to the Cook Islands for their wedding anniversary. Now, she actually should have been in Parliament as it was sitting at the time. She chose to fly to the Cooks, and we're told she flew there with her husband to celebrate their wedding anniversary. How lovely. She was also at a rally there protesting the Cook Islands government, their deal with China. Oh, that's nice too. All this was perfect timing as she was away when the damning report came out into the alleged misuse of data by the Māori Party and the Ngarewa Marae during the last election. So that saw the Māori Party MP for Tamaki Makaurau win by just 42 votes. There's a huge, big question mark over the Māori Party and democracy and whether they allegedly abuse this data to sneak in. And the report came out, and where is she? She's in the bloody Cook Islands. Convenient, isn't it? Nice. But who paid for this trip and how much? And if we had some more transparency, then we wouldn't have to speculate and guess and try and work it out. Ngarewa-Packer could put everyone out of their misery by just being upfront and telling us rather than hiding behind this outrage, which sees Parliament as the last and only place in New Zealand that can hide its spending of public dollars. I think it's just so wrong. It's not right. It remains a cosy club, a protection racket for MPs, and we should all be campaigning for openness and transparency. After all, it's our money, and what is it that they have to hide? Come on. If there's nothing to fear, nothing to hide, open it up. Really appreciate it. Thanks.
Editor-in-Chief with Duncan Garner.
Okay, so looking at all this and investigating and doing his work is Jordan Williams. He's with the Taxpayers Union, and he knows this issue inside out. Jordan Williams, so Debbie Ngarewa-Packer, she's gone to Rarotonga, gone to the Cook Islands, 30th wedding anniversary. Congratulations to her in the sitting week. Slightly unusual, but not illegal. But has she spent taxpayers' money getting there? How do we find this out,
We can't. That's the issue. Now, before you get angry that a senior MP has gone to the Cook Islands with her husband for their 35th wedding anniversary, don't get angry, because I'm sure that it hasn't happened. But the fact that we can't get answers when we ask, just to confirm that isn't taxpayer money, that's what should make you angry.
Well, she has every chance.
MP
she can come out and say she didn't, Jordan. She can come out and say, nothing's stopping her.
Of course she can. But this is the minister who spent $39,000 on flights in just one quarter last year. And when Sunday Star Times asked for justification or where she went, she refused to say. And yet on her social media, she's living it up in Hawaii. And who does Debbie need permission for international travel? Well, thanks to a change in the rules that it was actually under the last Parliament, became into effect at the beginning of the current Parliament. MPs now don't need the Speaker's permission to use taxpayer money to travel overseas. They only need their party leaders.
She's asked herself.
So, well, she's possibly asked herself for permission. And I think, look, that it's a reasonable question to ask when a senior MP has said, I'm in the Cook Islands. She was obviously at that protest, and she said, oh, no, I'm here anyway for my wedding anniversary. Well, did we pay? It's not an unreasonable question.
Well, I wonder if she was there for the wedding anniversary and she turned up at the rally because it was on, and that was quite useful as a way of saying, well, now the fact the taxpayers have paid for it is justified. I was here defending tangata whenua, because that's where they all came through years ago, Rarotonga. I was here doing my job, and now it's justifiable. I've seen this before.
Well, look, the fact is we can't know. We are, the balance of probabilities, the New Zealand taxpayer paid for that holiday to Hawaii, but we don't know it. And the issue for the taxpayer union perspective is we know if ministers, what they're spending taxpayer money on, why should it be different for opposition and backbench MPs? Because, to be frank, one taxpayer dollar is equally as valuable as another taxpayer dollar. And MP, this system of secrecy is totally inconsistent with the taxpayers' right to know how their money is being spent.
We've spent 30 years at this. In the 30 years that I've been in and around Parliament, I remember on day one looking at this issue. And we have had some progress.
On ministers, you won it.
We won it, yes. And Shane Jones copped it. And Shane Jones copped it. So why shouldn't they?
And Tuku Morgan.
Yeah.
That was the old how you discovered the Tuku's $150 or whatever they were boxer shorts.
$89
put on the taxpayer.
Aotearoa television, and that was all there.
Inflation adjusted. It's how we know about ministerial motel remote mishaps.
Yeah.
Because there is transparency. Why should it be any different for MPs that aren't ministers when it certainly appears that we have a wayward MP who seems to think taxpayer funding of her travel entitles her to anniversaries and holidays to Hawaii for her and possibly her family?
Well, if you look at that 39,000, because you have to look at past behaviours as well, because that may be an indication of future behaviour. $39,000 over 3 months was 62% more than any other MP. It was higher than Willie Jackson's, who was second up. higher than that by 62%, Jordan. Now, average Māori live on low salaries. We know this; it was statistically proven. $39,000 is more than the average Māori lives on in a year compared to what she spent in 3 months. Now, those flights she could have flown to Taranaki every day, a return flight to Taranaki every day for 3 months. It would have only just reached to $39,000. She could have gone to Hawaii, 6 return business class airfares. Where did she go? It's still look, we haven't answered the Rarotonga one. We haven't answered the last one either, to be honest.
Yep. Yeah, look, frankly, it's not good enough. And it comes a point where it's actually on the speaker. And it's really good to see that we put out we asked our supporters yesterday in our newsletter, hey, look, this is the issue.
Saw that.
The Speaker's job is to protect both the reputation of Parliament, but also his role is to protect, that taxpayer money that is going to Parliament for parliamentary reasons, actually going to that purpose. And it's encouraging to see literally thousands of New Zealanders have emailed the Speaker saying, hey, and all we're asking for is confirmation that taxpayers didn't pay for the anniversary trip for the Māori Party co-leader and her husband to head to the Cooks. That's not an unreasonable request.
No, all you're asking for is a confirmation or otherwise. It's really easy to do. It takes 2 seconds. The longer it goes on, the more I think the answer is clear. Speakers have come under...
frankly, it's a different standard being applied to this Party Māori. Let's call it for what it is. And I'm getting really sick and tired of some of our opponents apparently calling us out for when we identify waste if it has any smudge of Māoridom.
Yeah, I don't care.
And I've seen some outrageous comments that how dare, and look, David Fisher at the Herald, for example, is trying to, he's doing OIAs to ask about our investigations on this whale music for Kauri trees, frankly wrought. And, we just don't, he should have just asked us. We would have handed over the material. But this double standard or this reluctance or criticism for calling out waste when it involves tatua whenua is frankly disgraceful, and it is a dangerous path to go on.
So I'm with you on this.
I put to you, if it was any other party or MP, imagine if David Seymour or Winston Peters, well, we know that because they're ministers, but so let's even if it was the leader of the opposition, if it was Chris Hipkins, the media would rightly be all over it, and they should be on this.
We should be all over these things, no matter what colour or race or creed. And in my view, is racism comes from people of all colours. Okay, and because so I call it out. I've decided bugger it, Jordan. I'm over it. I'm sick of double standards. I'm sick of the media hiding these people and protecting them because they're scared to be accused of racism. You and I will be accused of racism for this today, and you know what? It's tiring for me. I've had 30 years of that stuff. Tomorrow I'll do something else. Last night I criticised Luxon for his interview with Hosking. The night before it was Ngarewa-Packer. It doesn't matter what colour they are. If they do
have a
wrong,
long history of doing this without fear or favour, and it worries me that, and it's probably why we're finding a bit more in the area, because the normal bodies, the Auditor General, for example, who in the 90s called out misspending, or maybe it was the early 2000s, including that under parliamentary secrecy wraps. I fear is taking a kid glove approach to this sort of stuff, and I would put the sort of science money being spent on, frankly, religious stuff on the basis that this is the Māori worldview and is therefore justified. Well, I'm sorry, you apply any value for money lens, or the lens of that, taxpayer money must be going to the actual what the appropriation is for. That just isn't happening in some areas, and that is a very dangerous path.
And we have, and I'm aware of some spending in areas at the moment that I'm looking into, involving both Māori ministries and Pākehā-dominated ministries, and so it doesn't worry me what colour it is, but I'm looking at both. And back in the day, back in our day, or back when I was there, we would target people like Robin McDonald, who's a Pākehā New Zealander who spent $36,000 on an internet conference. She travelled to Paris, and these were the stories of the day. It doesn't matter. And then there was Tuku Morgan. It didn't matter who they were, although the Tuku one is interesting because I was there at the time and I was at TVNZ, and boy, there was the Labour Party. I've never seen a party go so hard on someone. It was about destroying that coalition early on as well, the '96 Bulger coalition with New Zealand First. So it was about undermining that. They did a pretty good job at it. But there's no space. There's no place for two rules. And in Parliament right now we have two laws. We have a law for MPs and a law for ministers. It's wrong. It's just wrong. It's two different standards.
Yeah. So we had, I think it was about 15,000 New Zealanders make submissions on a bill that's currently going through Parliament to change how Parliament is funded, and it would be very easy to insert in that bill remove the carve out from the Freedom of Information or from the Official Information Act for the financial aspects of Parliament. Now, let me be very clear, because I can already hear the straw man argument that MPs will put up, and saying, well, we can't have our offices totally open to the likes of Duncan and Jordan to ask questions because, we deal with sensitive constituency matters. That's fine. But the financial elements of Parliament should be open to taxpayer scrutiny, because the taxpayer has the right to know how their money is being spent. That most taxpayers' funds come from the middle class. It is the tradie. It is the forklift driver. It is the single mum battling in Dannyburg to keep food on the table.
Yeah,
that is their money, and they are entitled to know where their money goes, regardless of if it's going to an backbench MP, a party leader, or a minister.
And I think the Māori constituency of Ngarewa-Packer will be fascinated to know how much money is being spent by this woman. And also she's on a healthy salary as well. That's on top of that. And it wasn't 39,000, it was actually 60, because once you include in that 3-month period the accommodation and the ground transport, it was actually just over 60 grand for 3 months. It is... You'd be travelling every day, Jordan, to spend this sort of day. So, I'm
pretty good.
Hey, we nailed Rodney Hyde. Remember when we nailed Rodney Hyde for going to Hawaii, so we've done them all,
Wouldn't quite use that term, but before my time. I mean, we've had a long. It's something I'm very proud of, that the Taxpayers Union. We play it with a pretty equal bat on this, and the fact that we were founded under the John Key government. I remember that when we had to go at Stephen Joyce for piddling away $2.5-3 grand on a single taxi ride in Sydney, it would have been cheaper for him to brought an intern over from New Zealand and been driven around in a rental car. Yes. The pitch is this, that politicians and bureaucrats should be treating taxpayer money as if it was their own. That's the objective here, and it is quite proper for questions to be asked. And I certainly hope that you, Duncan, approach Te Pāti Māori and demand answers. But it is outrageous that when Stuff did it, when Andrea Vance did it for that quarter that involved the trip to Hawaii, no answers were provided. Yeah,
I think you'll find the same thing happens here. She'll hide behind the cloak of secrecy. It's a cosy club, and Brownlee is under pressure to blow that open. He has all the powers in the world. He's in charge of Parliament.
Of course he can.
He's the Speaker. Now, the Speaker people might think the Speaker's a bit of a nothing role. No. The parliamentary precinct is his. So he can move.
It's a pox on all their houses. That's the issue.
Yeah.
And that's why the transparency is important, because you can't seriously argue that a taxpayer funded, if it's correct, that taxpayers have funded an MP and her husband to go for a wedding anniversary to the Cook Islands, and she rocked up to one protest. You can't seriously say that the privacy concerns outweigh the public interest. No. Knowing, and we just want confirmation that taxpayers didn't pay. The fact that we haven't got that immediately, that speaks volumes.
Well, I think it's actually worse than how you present it just then, which is not a criticism of you, but this is somebody who chose to be away in a particular week when Parliament was sitting. So that means you're absent from the business of the House. Now, that's sort of when they're meant to be there, to be honest.
To go to a protest that she
Yeah.
said she didn't even know about prior to the event.
But
I mean,
secondly, they knew that report was coming out too. The report into the Ngarewa Marae, which saw that public servant get sacked. That was on the Friday. They were over there at that stage. So that comes into play as well, because you couldn't get anyone. They were missing in action, All the leadership was gone.
Wouldn't it be great wouldn't it be amazing if the real world worked like that? Look, I need next week off. I'm going to go to Hawaii. Oh, but it's a really important week. No, but I'm going to go to Hawaii and, I want you to pay for it. Okay. What world do you live in where that's
Mate,
where that's on?
I was called back from the hospice sitting next to my dad who was dying of cancer. I was called back to work to cover a political story one afternoon when I was sitting with my dying dad. It's just the real world doesn't operate like this whole especially nowadays, Jordan, especially nowadays with the way that budgets are, the way that companies are, but also the public service has been cut everywhere. How has this been allowed even if she had requested it? She doesn't even request it from anyone. She requests it from herself. That's a rort. I mean, I think Parliament looks guilty until proven innocent. So they need to change
that,
it.
Duncan. We don't know. I mean, maybe when it's co-leadership, it goes to the other leader. We just don't know.
Yeah, if that's too cosy.
I think if the government, if Parliament is going to, and it has, removed that safeguard of the Speaker, there should at least be the quid pro quo of transparency. And at the moment, we've got the worst. We're actually gone backwards rather than more control over it.
Brownlee's been there since 1996 as an MP, so he's been the longest serving apart from Winston. So he's part of a club. The 96 guys are part of a club. They got all the old benefits. 96, anyone pre-99, there was all the old benefits. So he's part of that. So no matter how free and open and accountable and transparent Jerry wants to be, he's still an MP that meets with these guys as leaders and so forth and the business committee, and they're still a club. He's still part of a club. He's under huge pressure, and I'm not sure that MPs and former speakers and speakers can ever go the whole hog because we've got proof they can't.
We went there with ministers, Duncan, and we got there with ministers by holding them to account and the efforts of you and the gallery. We did it with ministers. We will get there with the opposition MPs. The key thing is we have to keep asking the questions. And to be frank, an MP that's posting on social media that they're in Hawaii, or showing that they're in the Cooks, and it does appear that we're paid for it. These are legitimate questions, and that eventually, if they refuse to answer, they will be forced to. I'm pretty confident on this.
She seems to be anti-seabed mining. So she's travelling the world on these planes, being anti-seabed mining at all these places but the east coast of New Zealand. She's in Hawaii. She's in the Cooks.
I mean, there's another one, actually, that is totally rumour. You mentioned a Green MP there. There is a rumour that I cannot establish the fact of, so I'm not going to identify the party or who it is, but the partner of a prominent, well-known MP is reportedly commuting between major cities for work on the taxpayer.
Yeah. I've heard this over the number of years.
But it's parliamentary funding, so I can't access it.
No, but spouses have run their businesses on the spousal airfares because they get 12 or something a year. So you run your business around the country on the taxpayer. This is not new.
If they're travelling to Wellington with the MP, which I understand is the case here, that it's actually it's limitless.
Oh, that doesn't count as spouse. No, it's elsewhere. So anyway, there are so many rorts actually, to be honest, and. Like as a society, we no longer get all these benefits. We don't get workplace benefits like we used to.
No one got those benefits, mate.
Hey?
I don't know where you've. I don't know. I know the media used to be, lots of champagne and it was lots of partying. But you got a free trip to free trip to Hawaii with your other half on the week you actually needed at work.
I know.
Gee, you've had it pretty good, Duncan.
Exactly. I think we'll leave it there. I think we've made our point. Jordan, thanks for your availability, mate. Always appreciate it. And keep going with the good work. Cheers.
Editor-in-Chief with Duncan Garner.
Yeah, it's fascinating stuff. Gives a real good insight. What do you reckon, Isaac? I mean, you are an observer of politics from this production seat, in Christchurch, and you see what we do here, and you're part of it. It's pretty amazing, eh? You can hide behind. Still in today's 2025, you can spend public money and we can't know about it.
Yeah, it is pretty crazy. I actually literally just before about half an hour ago, I got my my paycheck.
Oh yes,
For my fortnightly paycheck from MeWorks, yeah. And I was just reading through it, everything looked good, and I got to the tax point, and I went, "Oof, that's a significant dent." You know, I'm happy to pay my tax. Don't get me wrong. Part of that's KiwiSaver, which is a little bit different. Part of that's my student loan, which is a little bit different. But then that's still just your standard tax.
yeah.
If I was, I'm happy to pay it, but if I was to find out that was getting spent on flights to Rarotonga, first class flights to Rarotonga potentially as well, that would grind my gears, as some people
I
would
think
say.
it would too. We want them to be responsible custodians of public money. And in this instance, well, she can be up front and clear it up. She can clear it up. But Parliament can also hide, and they can protect each other. And there's pressure on the Speaker, but he can't do it without her approval. So they basically get to write their own approval. You know, they can write their own sick notes. You know. Anyway,
the recipe for disaster.
Come
on.
Well, it makes them all guilty before and they may be innocent. You know. But $39,000 last year on $39,000 on one quarter's airfares. I don't know where you went, but maybe it's around the world consistently for 3 months. I don't know. It's a lot of money, eh? A lot of money. Okay, let's move it on. That is us. Thank you for your feedback and your support. Keep the comments coming in. Really loving all the comments, all the feedback. Get in touch with our social media. Duncan Garner Podcast on TikTok. And, of course, we're on Instagram. Where else are we? We're on the emails. You can flick us an email, duncan@rover.nz. Have you seen those comments? Have you seen the last couple of weeks, Isaac? The numbers are...
They've been going great.
Yeah.
Oh, we're stoked, man. And I said it a couple of years ago, we're very nearly at 10,000 subscribers. I think we're at about, off the top of my head, I think we're at about 8,800 at the moment, so just over 1,000 left. So we
were at like 5,000 2 weeks ago. Okay, so
that button.
Yeah, let's test it tonight. You guys have got to hit the subscribe button. Let's get it across 10K by the weekend. That matters. It matters because it helps us stay in this business. Without your support, we wouldn't be here. If you don't follow the podcast, we're gone bigger. You know, we're up. So we do need you to tell your friends, spread the message. If you like it, let us know. If you hate it, let us know as well. I mean, you're pretty quick to do that as well. We don't mind that. But if you can hit the subscribe button, we'd appreciate it. I might go to the Cooks for the weekend. So get hold of us. To my team, Isaac, thank you, boss. Appreciate it, mate. And Lockie, thank you, sir. We'll do this all again tomorrow. We've got one more day this week. And remember, life is no dress rehearsal. There's no curtain raiser. This is it. We live in still one of the best countries on planet Earth. So get out and enjoy it and have a great time. Take care. Have a great day.
Editor-in-Chief with Duncan Garner.